So we are looking now to the market on open imbalance. The S&P 500 seeing 140 million to the sell side, Nasdaq 100 55 million to the sell side, Dow 30 seeing 30 million to the sell side, Mag 7 stocks also seeing 30 million to the sell side.
Okay, welcome everyone to the Pro Trade Room Plus CV Consumer Confidence. My name is Lee Goldstein, the Trading Director at 10 Minute Trades. Please remember I'm not a financial advisor. All the reports we discuss are for educational purposes, so trade carefully, please. Okay, good morning everyone. We are streaming this on YouTube, so I want to welcome everybody. We're getting ready for consumer confidence. Now, the markets are opening at 9:30, so don't let that throw you off. And what we're going to see is the markets will slow down as we get closer to 10 o'clock, the time of the report. And they are expecting, if you notice down here on the lower right, 100 for the
According to
consumer
sources, oil
confidence. That's
loadings from
pretty
Russia's
good
western ports in July set
consumer
to decline
confidence.
23%
So I'm
month-over-month
just
as
checking
refinery runs are expected to rise,
the
again according to
expected
sources.
number on Financial Juice Pro as well, and that's also 100. Usually the calendars agree. In other words, on the lower right here, it's investing.com that I'm using to integrate into our trading. Because what happens is investing.com and Financial Juice Pro also, they do show the news as it gets released. So sometimes you can be in a trade and knowing what the news is can help you. Okay? So just give me a heads up, everybody, that you can hear me okay and that you can see me. I just want to make sure everything's working fine. It appears to be. Okay. So consumer confidence is interesting. I'm going to trade. Let me show you the DMM. We have a breakout trade, which has been our forever trade on consumer confidence. Whoops, let me fix that. So it's been trading well. What's interesting is in March, we didn't trade that month. It never really responded. If you notice, if you read the DMM, it took a minute and 11 seconds for the spike to take place. Small spike, 1 minute, 11 seconds. So we canceled that report. Usually this will give us a pretty quick entry. It's not generally a slow moving report. It's been a little bit choppy on the way that it gets into the news. And what's very interesting, there's a trap trade for the ES that really has been working well, especially over the last 3 months. So I'm going to trade that in my Buellnox, my prop account. I'm going to trade our normal DMM in our cash account. And I like the ES trap. I'm going to trade that in my prop account. Buellnox is what we're using. The only change I would consider making is the target of 25. What I've been seeing on this report, and you'll see it in the videos, it has been struggling to get to the second target. So you never know. Generally, you just have to use the existing moves to help you make a target decision. And if we look at the last bunch of months, it's been struggling to get target 2. So I would consider, you can leave the target at 25, be prepared to manage your way out of the trade, or you can make the target a little smaller. And the goal with making the targets a little smaller is so you could get a totally automated trade where it hits both your targets. So let me show you last month's trade. I know, like, watching these videos when we're streaming makes for like webcams all over the place. There's nothing we could do about it. It's kind of goofy. So we've got May. And we were looking at that trap trade on the ES. And it hits the first target. You could see what I mean about struggling. I actually expanded the target because I thought it was going to go further. May was not bad. May was not bad. But it's still a little bit short. Let's see. It gets there. Just barely, barely, barely gets there. There you go. All right. So May got there. So that's why I was saying if you leave the target, you can be prepared to manage your way out. May would have worked. Let's take a look at April. Now it's always interesting to look at the DMM when we're in the room. Let me see. Now this was, there we go. There was Chicago PMI, which we do have this week, but it's not today, obviously. So you can see the DMM is still very good for consumer confidence. Overall, this is a good trading report. It's a report that I pretty much always trade it. Now, today it's trading with Richmond Manufacturing. It's one of those Fed reports. That report, I never use the word always and never in trading. That report always releases early. So today you'll see Richmond Manufacturing. It'll release 20 or 30 seconds before consumer confidence, and it will not affect the market. That's almost always what happens all the time. Now, April took 11 seconds to fill, and then it had a nice move. It just missed the target. Just missed it. Okay. Now, the consumer confidence was a little bit lower than expected 2 months ago. Last month, it was very good. It was higher than expected. So here's how I would trade this. It's a breakout trade. The time of the event, 9:59:59 is our trigger time. Our bracket is 12. And we've got targets anywhere between, look, you can use anywhere between 8 and 30, okay? I think what might make sense is a target of 10 and 21. You can do 18, you could do 28. Remember, targets do not have to be copied. Don't use the exact same targets that we use. It's good to mix them up. Okay? You don't have to. Targets are arranged. They're not in stone. Okay? Now, the target one stop move, I'm going to do a break even -3. The stop is 15. All right, that's my setup. Breakout trade triggering at 9:59.59. Two positions, 10 and 21 on my targets. You could use 8 and 23. That would be perfectly fine. And the target one stop move, you could use break even -5 on your target one stop move if you want to. The idea with the target one stop move is if the trade hits the first target and then pulls back, especially if it pulls back very quickly, using the target one stop move will protect your profit on the first target. Sometimes that will mean a winning trade as opposed to a losing trade. Sometimes you'll leave money on the table. We all know that's what happens. And then I'm going to label the trade. Down under at the setup, it's the breakout, and it's gold. GC breakout. And I'm saving a template for it. CB consumer. All I need really is CB. There's no other report that says CB. And then we check our bracket width. If you set the software to 0, the software assumes that time has already passed. Okay? Just always make sure when you're checking a bracket that you're in sim so you don't accidentally put yourself in a
Order
trade.
submitted. Order canceled.
Okay? I'm just looking at the brackets as they'll appear at 10 o'clock
Order submitted.
to make sure the trade's manageable.
Order canceled.
That's all I'm doing. All right, I don't want them too tight where I can't see where my orders are going to show up. And then I go back to strategy, go to time and put my time, the correct trigger time. And then I also need to put my account on whatever account I'm trading, our cash account. Apply it and OK it, and then put your charts on the account that you're trading, and then double check everything in the control panel when you enable the trade by checking the enabled box. It's going to get the software ready to trade at 9:59.59. Okay? Tesla recalling Cybertruck's windshield wiper. All right. Then we have an interesting trap trade. It's a separate strategy. And our tier, a tier is a bracket essentially, 10 and 20. Time of the event for everyone in the room, unless you're using the new software. Old software, you use time of event, the exact time of the trade, which is 10 o'clock. And prep seconds is 5. New software, the time of the activation is 9:59.55. And I'm going to trade that in Buell Knox. I'm going to label it trap. And I could call it ES trap. Position size 1 is a 1. That means there's one contract for tier number 1. Position size 2 means there's one contract for tier 2. Wait for spike is default. Stop is default. The number of ticks in the stop is 15. That comes from the DMM. Okay, and our tiers, historically, we always use our tiers in a range. It's just the way the trap trade was designed. And I'm using 10 and 20 on my tiers. And if you most everybody's using the software version 10. So you're putting your time in at 10 o'clock and the prep second activation is 5 seconds. There's a couple of people that I know that have new software. 9:50, 9:55 for new people. All right, so that's the trap. With the trap, just remember, when you enable it, you want to make sure you can see the combine button on the top of the chart. See where my cursor's moving. If you can't see the combine button, it's probably because your chart is too narrow and you need to make it wider if you're trading the trap trade. Trap trade, we expect a reversal after the fill, and we make our profit when the price changes direction. If the price goes up, we sell the market. If the price goes down, we buy the market. That's the idea of a trap trade. It's a specialized reversal trade. Okay? Let's take a look at... Now, March was interesting on consumer confidence. In March, it really took a long time to fill. Now, remember what I said. See, you see Richmond down here? When we get to the news, like a couple of seconds, 30 seconds before the news, the Richmond Manufacturing Index will show up over here. It'll almost always be early. And it almost never has any effect on the trade. Yes, Bill, my big bad error. You must uninstall version 10 before you install version 11. Okay. So let's take a look. I was going to show everyone March. Now there's February. So a lot of times we have videos within videos, because that's what we do. We show a lot of the behavior. Here's the March DMM, and it had 4 out of 6 winners, which seems to be pretty normal for CB consumer confidence. But if you notice, small spike, small, moderate. That's why I'm being conservative with the targets. Now, what makes for bigger spikes, like what we saw, for instance, on Canada this morning, news offsets are obviously why we're here. They create our reason for existence. A news offset means what's the difference between the real news and the forecast. If it's very close to expected, it can make for a smaller move. If it's a big difference, we call that a large offset. And large offsets often create bigger moves in the market that we're trading. Okay? So you want to remember that. And that's why we're always looking at live news when we trade. I have multiple aids that I'm using. I use Financial Juice Pro, and you have to pay for Financial Juice Pro, but it has some great features. It has a good calendar. It's got a squawk box.
In
So
10 minutes
there's
time
a
now
lot
at the
of
top of the hour,
aids
we see the release of the
that you
US
can use.
Conference
Right
Board's
now, I'm
consumer
hearing,
confidence read.
talking
Forecast 100
in
on
my
the high,
headset about
102 with a
CB
range of
consumer
106
confidence.
to 96.
This was
Below this,
March.
we
I
also
was
see the
also, while
Richmond
I'm
Fed
talking here,
Confidence Index
we're
with a
watching
forecast
March
-3
on
on the prior
gold. The
0.
left chart was canceled because it really had no move. Okay. The trap trade on MES was a pretty small response also. However, in my testing on the ES, I had very, very nice results testing the trap trade. Last month, it took a minute, if I remember correctly, which is a little bit long for a trap to fill, but it filled after a minute, and then it took 3 minutes to get profit. But it was a very good reversal. See? Starting to reverse. And it was a nice reversal. Then in April, it fills the first tier. Let's see, it took how long? 15 seconds. And then it started reversing. Sometimes on a trap trade, it won't fill both tiers. And that's why we have a cancel button. Then the reversal took place, and then you can move your stop into safety if you so choose. If you notice on the trap trade taskbar, there's a cancel button. That means cancel the outer tier, the second order. If the second order isn't canceled and you want to move your stop, it's in the way of your stop. Okay, that's why we have that cancel button. Now everybody can check your time sync. If you want to check your time sync by going to the website time.is. Time.is. Now, for everyone new that's here, that's the trade room. Okay, I'm just showing myself. On the taskbar of the trade room, there's a file folder called Room Drive. Okay? In that Room Drive are some files you can use. A program to put your computer in sync, D4 Time, and PT Sync, 2 programs. There's a couple of lesson files in there. There's also the pre-trade checklist. The pre-trade checklist has a link. You can just click www.time.is, allow it, and it will see if your computer is in sync. It won't put it in sync, but it'll see if it is. And if it's not, we do have those tools available. The pre-trade checklist is great, especially for new people, but it's great for everyone. How many times do you forget? You might forget to enable the trade. You might forget if you're on live or sim. Over the years, people always forget, and they put themselves on sim when they want to trade live, or they put themselves on live when they want to trade sim. It happens. So going through the pre-trade checklist, are you trading the correct symbol? Gold and the ES. Is your trade type correct? Breakout and trap, yes. Is there
So
any
in 5 minutes
margin
time now
issues
at the
today?
top of the hour, we see
There
the
aren't.
listed US conference
Okay,
board's
no
consumer
emails from the
confidence
brokers.
forecast
No
100
questions
on the
about
prior
margin this morning.
102 with a range of 106
But you
to
might want to
96.
check your
This
margins.
report
Do you have enough
representing the
money to
month of
trade
June. We
live
see the
real
Richmond
dollars?
Fed Composite Index forecast -3 on the
Double
prior
check
0.
the trade trigger time, the bracket size, live or sim. Uncheck your account warnings. Okay. Sync yourself. Check your sync. Don't check your sync at the last minute, because if you're out of sync, you want to have time to put yourself in sync. Okay? I'm just checking over on YouTube. Quite a few people here. If you want to hit that like button, we'd love you for that. Thank you. Label your trade. Don't forget to enable the trade. Okay? So the pre-trade checklist, especially if you're new, but even if you're not new, is a great tool. And we have a ton of tools. Investing.com is one of our most important tools, shows us the news results. Financial Juice is a great tool. When we do earnings, we have extra tools. All of our sync programs, our clock. People ask me, hey, where do you get this clock? That file is in the Room Drive. Okay? The Room Drive. So we have a couple of minutes, 3 minutes to go. So now we're watching the market. See how the market quieted down? It opened 9:30, made a new low on gold, chopped around quite a bit, made it look like it was moving up big time, and then it went and created a new low, and now it's consolidating, waiting for the news. So that's you know, that's what we see a lot. We see the markets open. Obviously you have quite a bit of volatility at market open, and then often we get a calming effect before the reports. And that's what allows us to take these trades. So what you'll see happen is my brackets or tiers will show up on the ES before the brackets for the breakout trade, because they're going to go on the chart 5 seconds prior to the news. Okay? Prep time 5 seconds, or activation 9:59:55. 5 seconds before the news, our tiers go on the charts. Back in the day, we used to put our tiers on the chart sometimes 20 seconds before the news. And that allowed us to move the orders around support and resistance. You can still do that. The reason we changed it, the markets have just gone through such serious volatility. We didn't want to get filled
1 minute remaining. I'll be leading with the
before the
USCB
news
consumer
comes out.
confidence.
All right, so getting ready here. No idea what the news is going to be. In other words, and I don't guess.
The
I
Richmond
don't
Fed
really
Composite Index
care.
out early at -10, which is lower than forecast -3.
Now, Richmond is out. It's a -10. It's not showing up. There it is. Financial Juice had it first. Now, I will check the width of my trap trade so I
10
can
seconds.
see all my orders.
Order submitted.
Spread it apart a little bit so I can manage
Order
it. There's our
submitted.
brackets. Consumer confidence.
Order canceled.
Is it late?
Still waiting.
It's late.
100 spot 4, 100 spot
100
4, higher than
4.
forecast 100.
Not getting a response from the news, folks. I'm going to cancel consumer confidence on gold. There's absolutely, it's out and there's nothing
Order
happening.
canceled.
I've filled on my ES trap. Now, what I'm waiting to see is if I'm going to get filled on my second tier or if the reversal is going to start to take place. Now, we did the
Order
right
filled.
thing on
Seeing
consumer
the average
confidence. If
12
there's
month
no
inflation
move,
expectations
you
ticked
cancel.
down slightly from 5 spot 4% to 5 spot 3%. June's write-in responses revealed that elevated prices, especially for
I'm going to
food and
bring my
groceries,
first
continued
order
to
up a
impact
bit.
consumers' views on the economy,
First
followed
target.
by the labor market and US
I'm now
political
filled
situation.
on both. If it just continues up, I'll get stopped out in my prop account. If the reversal takes hold, then my trap trade will work. Okay? The news is good, but it's not unreal good that I would expect it to burst the market up, 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 up and away. I would think that we could get a change in direction to support the trap trade, at least a little bit of a profit. Now, both the tiers are filled. So I could take one target
Order
right
filled.
there. And now I can move my stop to safety no matter what happens now. I've got a nice, not a nice winner, but a little winner. Because my stop is in safety and my target is below here. You know, it's not a great reversal. If it goes back up, then I'll just make a few bucks.
Order canceled.
And that's what happened. Now, what's ridiculous about the prop fills and everything, it just makes no sense that it was a tiny loser, $12.50. But let's watch. It's not doing a good reversal. And that's a strong reason not to get married to the trap trade. So let's see if I got out too soon. If it changes direction here, I'm going to turn off my gold breakout. Now look, it took minutes for anything to happen on GC, on the trade. Okay, it took minutes. We did the right thing by not trading gold because we weren't getting a regular type of a move from consumer confidence. Ironically, if you stayed in for 3 minutes waiting for a fill, it would have worked and it would have been a very profitable trade, but that's not normally the way that we do this trade. Because if you notice, over 2 minutes of really not much activity, and then the third candle, not much activity. It really took 4 candles for that reversal to start to really take place. Now, there are things that you could say to yourself, well, maybe gold wanted to test that low, right? Maybe. Maybe gold wanted to test that low, and that might have been a good reason to wait and wait and wait. What happens when news is positive? Sometimes with gold, it'll go down. Now on the ES, I do feel that we did the right thing by just trying to get a small profit on the trap rather than waiting for a reversal that really wasn't taking place. Okay? There was a lot of pressure to the upside, so it made total sense to get out of that trap trade, to make it safe as soon as possible. We don't always try to be safe instantly, because sometimes you have to wait for that reversal to really take hold. All right. Gold, we did not get the move. Let's look at the video so everybody understands what we're talking about. Let me just render it. Now, if all of a sudden, when you start looking at your previous videos on consumer confidence, if all of a sudden you go back and you see, hey, the last two or three, well, particularly the last three trades didn't really move the market for 3 minutes, then you change the way you trade the event. You don't do it on just one. I don't normally change the way I'm going to trade if something happens twice. If something happens twice, it gets my radar up. If it happens 3 times, then I will consider making changes. If all of a sudden we go back and we look at the videos on consumer confidence and 3 out of the last 5, or 3 out of the, yeah, let's say 3 out of the last 5 were very delayed in their responses, then I would stay in the trade longer. I wouldn't have canceled, okay? These are things you need to pay attention, you try to pay attention to them. Normally, on a trade like this, it has a history of filling rather quickly. But things do change, and that's what you want to always be aware of, the change. So let's get to where we were today. Let me get the clock out of the way. We can close that. So right at 10 o'clock, we're just watching the gold side, the left side. Watch here. News was late, okay? So right now the news isn't out. The ES was filled before the news came out. ES got filled there. The news was not out yet. It's one of the reasons why it can be tricky to trade 2 setups at the same time. I might have not allowed it to fill had I been only trading the trap trade. Okay? Gold, still 30 seconds, nothing happening. It's pretty rare for this report not to have a response, especially when the news is better than expected. It's not a huge offset, but it is a tradable offset. And you could see it's just not really having much of a response. It took at least a minute, and even still the minute, it's still not a red candle. So I don't think it was unreasonable to cancel. But again, if you waited 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you could have stayed in, okay? You could have stayed in. It's not normally the amount of time that we wait. Is that wrong? No, it's not wrong. If you analyze, retrospect analysis is always easy. Looking at the low, right? Looking at positive news. The squeeze took a while to work in our favor. Initially, it wasn't. Eventually, it starts working in our favor also. You could do the analysis that says it wouldn't have been a disaster to wait. Now, I'm just looking at the fill. I probably should have put my stop. Nope, I think it was just a pretty crappy fill on Buellnox, because it really should have been a couple of ticks of profit there. One thing we see with prop accounts is sometimes the fills can be a little bit unusual. And now the gold, you could see the gold breakout is starting to work. If you stayed in for a very long time, an unusual amount of time, it could have worked for you. And it's really just a question of what you're willing to do. It's not wrong to do it. It's just a little bit outside the box of the way that we do it normally. Okay? Okay. So, CB Consumer, not very eventful in terms of dollars and cents, but very useful in terms of knowledge. You learned a lot. Okay? Everyone, let me put the link. If you want to sign up for the challenge, you can still sign up. Let me put the link in the trade room. We're going to have a lot of education. JOBB version 11 is now on the website. Okay? You can now download the software. Please make sure that you uninstall first. Uninstall first. Okay? And we do need your machine ID just to re-verify, and we need it for the magnet trade. The magnet trade is a separate software. It's not part of JOBB version 11. As long as you have a current subscription, then you can keep the magnet trade active. All right? Any questions? So the challenge class will be getting started at 12 o'clock. A lot of great education. I think it's really worth doing. So it's up to you all. I'll see everybody at noon, and we will be back for API. We've got to see, is API going to start a new winning streak? That's what we want to know. Okay? And really, no reversal of any import on today's trap trade. The first one in 4 months that did not have a good reversal. So that happens. Does that mean I won't trade it next month? No, I would definitely give it another shot. Remember, one time of something not working is nothing. It means it doesn't get my attention. 2 times should get your attention. 3 times maybe is the beginning of a trend. Okay? All right, everybody. Hit the like button on your way out of YouTube. Thanks, everyone on YouTube, for watching us. And I'll see everybody for the challenge at noon and the API at 4 p.m. See you all later.